Hey, lovers of small businesses and good stories in general. Welcome to episode 127 of Small Business War Stories. And today I had the chance to sit down with Peter Keller, who is founder of
Small
Fringe
Business War
Sport,
Stories.
And they make all kinds of fitness equipment from kettlebells
Small
to
business is the
barbells
soul
and
of
even,
America.
Much bigger things and weight racks, pull-up
And
bars, and
this
so
is where they
forth
tell their
for
stories.
people who are both have commercial gyms and also people who are setting up gyms in their homes. But this conversation
your
will
host,
be beyond
Pablo
that.
Fuentes.
Peter is a deep trove of knowledge about business. He has lots of different thoughts and ideas about things. I learn a lot from him. And he's also very introspective. We had conversations about, and I don't want to give too much of it away, but we talk about the notion of the biggest obstacle in your own business is you. So we talk about self-knowledge and what it takes to basically recognize and see your own blind spots and use them as a way to grow. So it's a really interesting episode. And it is brought to you by our sponsor, Gusto. That's Gusto. And Gusto is a way in which you can manage all of your payroll, your benefits, all the things that are a pain to run about your business. Gusto can help you with. So go check them out. You get 3 free months when you run your first payroll. Go to gusto.com/war stories. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode, number 127, with Peter Keller in Austin, Texas. And we are live here in beautiful Austin, Texas. And today I have the pleasure and honor to sit down here. Actually, we're standing with Peter Keller, who is the CEO of Fringe Sport. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Pablo. It's awesome to be here. It's a really hot day here in Austin, but we got the AC.
Yeah, it is pretty hot. Summer in Texas. We get like 100 days or 100 degrees or something like that.
Yeah, something. It's crazy.
Are you from here originally?
I tell people I'm from here.
Okay.
Came to UT in the 90s and have never been able to dislodge my wife, so I've had to stick around.
Got it. Where'd you come from originally?
I was born in Houston.
Okay.
Grew up a little bit in Houston, a little bit on the East Coast, Connecticut, a little bit in Cairo, Egypt, believe it or not. Then back to Connecticut, back to Houston for high school.
Wow. What took you to Cairo?
My father was a drug dealer.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. He was in oil.
Okay.
But drug dealer sounds a little better, right?
There you go. Better story. Very cool. So how did you decide to start a fitness business? I have a lot of questions. I'm very curious. Obviously, I think there's been a big change in the fitness industry over the last few decades, right? You go from Nautilus machines and Nordic tracks in the 90s to now like more of a focus on functional fitness and barbells. But how did you come into this game? Why this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's been a ton of change over the last few decades. The most interesting thing to me about all this change is that the human body hasn't changed. We're still rocking the same bodies from a few thousand years ago or even longer, but all of a sudden, every time you turn on the TV, you see a new advertisement saying, this is the new product, this is the new thing, but really our bodies haven't changed that much.
Yep.
But back to my story. I think I'm just a terrible employee.
Okay.
And you're supposed to laugh at that, about that.
No. I've actually said the same thing many times. So I started my own company, and I'm very familiar with that, and I've said that the same thing about myself, which is ironic because I'm now. Yeah, but go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me more. About
Yeah,
that.
no worries at all. So I do say that as a joke, but I had always wanted to own my own business. Back when I was in middle school and high school, it was that old story of buying candy at Sam's or Costco and then carrying around, selling it to other kids. Honestly, I think I would have been a drug dealer if I wasn't such a nerd. I just didn't know anybody with the supply. So instead it was candy. I was selling sugar.
Yep.
But after I went to college,
It's okay. Don't worry about it. We're in a warehouse here, so there's gonna be noises. We're live here in the field. So
Awesome. Sounds great. So when I went to college, I had been the newspaper editor at my high school, and I started studying journalism in college. And I quickly realized that wasn't for me. One, it was a lot of writing, a lot of hard work, not really great pay. But this was 1998, 1999. The dot-com boom was happening, and I was seeing internet retail. I was like, this is amazing. I really love what's happening in retail. Mm-hmm. So I found a company, convinced them to hire me, actually started working in their warehouse. I was literally cleaning the toilets, taking out the trash, doing anything. And they loved me because nobody else there wanted to clean the toilets,
Yep.
take out of the trash, do all that crappy work. So when I graduated from college, they said, hey, why don't you keep working for us? And that was just an amazing boon for me. Over the next 10 years, I worked in every department of that company. I learned so much.
Okay.
I learned about product development and sourcing. I learned about marketing, learned about all these different things. So concurrent with that, I was learning all this stuff, and CrossFit was growing. I was a pretty early convert to the cult
So
of
like
CrossFit.
2007 or so.
Actually, 2004, 2005.
Wow.
I was
That's like people working out in like Santa Cruz Mountains, like
something
super
like
early.
that. Yeah, it was very, very early.
Yeah.
I was a runner at that time. I'd played rugby in college. You'd actually seen a rugby ball in my warehouse earlier.
Sure, yeah.
So I played rugby in college. And after college, I started running, and I was doing distance running. I got really skinny, didn't have any muscles on me. And even though I'd played rugby in college, we didn't have a strength and conditioning or S&C program. So I bought some Men's Health magazines and some, Muscle and Fitness. I was trying the routines in there. Nothing was really working for me because every month there's a new routine, right? So I try the new routine every month and never stick to anything. And I found CrossFit. And CrossFit genuinely made a major and positive change in my life. So this is 2005, and I saw it growing. I really believed in CrossFit. I wanted to start an equipment company because I already knew product and I knew e-commerce. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited. I finally started the company in 2010.
Okay.
And that's been one of my, I took a quick look at the the questions that are going to come up later. And that's
Yeah.
one of my biggest things is, as a learning experience for me, is a lot of times I've seen opportunity and then I've convinced myself that it's not an opportunity or that I'm not really seeing things correctly.
Yeah.
But in 2007, I thought CrossFit was going to take over the world. I wanted to start a company and I didn't do it.
That's interesting. So let's talk a little bit more about that. That's something that's come up in the show before, which is how we tend to put up barriers for ourselves sometimes. So you recognize that's happened to you in the past. What are some of the things, techniques and things that you've been able to come up with to overcome that?
Oh man, maybe I need to connect with some of your past guests. I'm still working on them day by day. But what I would say now, I've seen enough times where something that I thought was an opportunity, I convinced myself that it wasn't, or it wasn't a good idea, and then later on it became a major opportunity. So the big thing that I do now is I try to put systems around myself and people. I've got 20 employees now, and enough of them tell me, hey Pete, that's a terrible idea. But every now and then somebody will say, oh Pete, that's a great idea. And I understand that I'm a great starter, great idea person. I'm really a terrible finisher. If you need somebody to come up with an idea and get it 50% done, I'm your man. If you need somebody to actually do something,
Yeah.
that's somebody else. And so I've tried really hard to bring in employees who can do that last 50%.
Yeah.
Who can also help me to vet my ideas. Are they really good ideas, or are they just more of Peter's crazy talk?
That takes a lot of self-awareness, because the entrepreneur mindset a lot of times is that in order to start a company, and you have to believe that you in some ways are better or know something that somebody else doesn't know, by definition, because otherwise you wouldn't start the business. But to also have the self-awareness on the other end to be like, this is my weakness, this is my blind spot, and bringing in people to help you with that. That's something not everybody does. How did you learn that? I'm going to bet that that's not something you nailed the first time around.
Absolutely not. And that's a great question. So I've got a lot of thoughts on that.
Yeah.
So to answer the question that you didn't ask, I'm a really big believer in something called talent stacking. Have you heard of talent stacking?
Go ahead, educate me. I don't know.
There's a gentleman named Scott Adams.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy who got famous for writing Dilbert, and then now I would say he's kind of infamous because he was this huge booster of Donald Trump when Donald Trump was running. He was predicting Donald Trump was going to win way before everybody else. Mm-hmm. So let's put that aside.
Yeah. It's actually, I did read the book Win Bigly, which I thought was really interesting, and it gave me a lot of insight into how he sees persuasion and psychology. But let's...
Side note, I think that's an amazing book.
Yeah.
The Bible of persuasion is the book called Persuasion by Robert Cialdini.
Yep.
And I think the book that you just mentioned, Win Bigly by Scott Adams, is a great kind of dumbed down version of persuasion with a lot of Donald Trump examples. So if you can stomach, you don't have to like the guy's policies or politics, but if you can stomach reading a lot of examples of Donald Trump. I think it's an amazing book to read. It's pretty easy
Yeah.
to read if you can keep your rage down.
Yeah, and
if you're-
Appreciation too, the new Cialdini book that just came out too, is pretty good.
I've not read it, but I have
Okay.
heard that it's great.
Yeah.
So thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, but tell me more about talent stacking. So I'd love to learn
talent
more
stacking.
about that.
Thank you for keeping me on topic.
Yes, sir.
So talent stacking is basically this idea that in order to become the best in the world at something, it takes many, many hours. Famously, they talk about 10,000 hours of practice or something like that. However, to become in the top, let's say 5% in the world at something, it takes far fewer hours of practice. And when you become in the top 5% at a group of talents that are complementary to what you are trying to do, it A, takes a lot less time than becoming world-class or best in the world at one talent, and B, can be immensely valuable.
Right.
So let me give you an example. For me, something that I feel that I brought to the table and continue to bring to the table is I have a very good understanding of internet marketing. I also have a very good understanding of product design and development. And then I have a very good understanding of how to build a team. Mm-hmm. So let's just take those three talents. I would not claim to be best in the world at any of those three talents. And in fact, I think I'm, while good, relatively weak in building a team, I'm actually quite a bit stronger in product design and development. And then I would say I'm kind of, high level but moderate in internet marketing. But when you combine those three things, all of a sudden we've got a business here.
Right.
Because I'm able to develop a team that can help me to leverage what I'm doing in the company in terms of product design development.
Right.
And then the team can also, I can teach them how to do the internet marketing in the way that I know how to do it.
And
then
also,
we can sell.
with that stack, you're not competing against everybody else in the world doing internet marketing. You're only competing against other people doing internet marketing who are also doing fitness products, who are also doing like your specific thing. That's why like when you start stacking talents, you start climbing up in percentile really fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it. You got it. So I recognized that relatively early on, even if I didn't know the term for it, because I only learned the term for it, 3-4 years ago, something like that. As far as recognizing my own weaknesses, I have been immensely helped by a wife who will tell me my weaknesses. No, I'm just kidding. I do love my wife, and she's been super, super helpful in being a support for me. But the biggest thing I would say to recognizing my weaknesses has been an entrepreneurship group that I joined called EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. Mm-hmm. What I tell people about Entrepreneurs Organization is that it is a personal development cult that tricks you into thinking it's a networking or business group.
Okay.
And certainly it does have a lot to do with entrepreneurship, but it mostly deals, once you're on the inside, with a lot of personal growth. And one of the biggest things that I have personally taken from EO is that I am the biggest problem in my life and in my business. And when I believed that, when I was finally able to believe that, I could look at my own weaknesses and then try to improve those weaknesses if I felt I needed to, or bring people in to buttress those weaknesses.
Yeah.
So one other story about that, when I first started Fringe, and we're about 9 years old now, when I was hiring, I basically looked for mini versions of myself because I'm awesome, right? So what about a team of people who are awesome like me?
Yep.
And I realized that that's a really, really bad team because I'm a great starter, poor finisher, I'm relatively selfish, I'm not really good at doing day-to-day stuff, I'm much better at like visionary stuff. So if you get all these, visionaries on a team, nobody's going to actually do the work. So what EO helped me to realize is it helped me to realize the weaknesses in myself and then understand that I need to bring people in who are strong in those areas that I'm weak, and then I need to trust them and coach them and work with them and allow them to make me better as well.
So that is tremendously powerful. How do you, when you interview somebody and you bring them in, do you tell them this?
Oh boy, that's a mouthful. Let me start really quickly and mention that Fringe's hiring process is very informed by the book Who by Jeffrey Smart, and I can't remember his co-author, unfortunately. But the book Who is an amazing book on hiring and bringing people into your company. The other tool that I use for Fringe's hiring process is a product called Culture Index. You happen to have heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Have you heard of Myers-Briggs or DISC?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so Culture Index is a psychological profiling tool similar to Myers-Briggs or DISC. And what I do when I'm hiring is I create a profile within my dashboard for who I think would excel in this role.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying, like, if I'm hiring for marketing, I need somebody with content experience or I need somebody with PPC experience. What I more mean is, in this role, and let's take that marketing role, I think that this person is going to need to be a extroverted person who's good at, like, dealing with other people, because maybe they're going to be talking with influencers and stuff like that. So they need to be an extroverted person. There's going to be a lot of routine stuff that they need to follow up on. So they need to have a relatively slow pace, but be comfortable with doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah. And then we need them to work in a fairly structured environment. So they need to be comfortable with that. Yeah. So I would fill all that out.
You want an ESTP there.
There you go. Exactly.
You're an INTP.
Could be. Yeah. I'm not super familiar with DISC. Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, Myers-Briggs.
But I am super familiar with Culture Index. So by Culture Index, I'm what's called a trailblazer, which is a very high D if you're thinking of DISC. I'm not sure how that...
I am not familiar with that framework, so I'm familiar with MBTI.
Yeah.
But
well, I think you probably nailed me pretty well. But so I am often looking for more or less the opposite of me. And I do talk to people about that in the interview. Yeah. I use this Culture Index tool, like I mentioned. Yeah. We do use that as a bit of a filter for who to bring in. And then when I talk with people, I tell them, here's my leadership and here's my management style. And you're in here to buttress quite a few of my weaker points. Yeah. I'm going to support you. I'm going to coach you. But, we do need to have a common terminology to talk and a way to deal with things.
Yeah. How do people react to that? I bet you that could be polarizing, right? So people either love that and appreciate the candor and say, hell yeah, we're doing this. And some people are probably put off by that.
I'm kind of laughing here. In an interview, no one's put off by that because they're like, no, I'm going to be amazing. I want to work here.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But after the interview, once the rubber hits the road a few months in, that's when, stuff gets real, so to speak. And that's when it becomes pretty polarizing, because one of my core beliefs is that, so I have a lot of self-belief. Let me put it that way. So I'm going to say something and I'm not trying to be narcissistic about it. I do think I'm an amazing world-class leader with lots of demonstrated success and potential. But I also bring a lot of downsides with that. I'm not Sorry, I don't want to compare myself to Steve Jobs. I actually think Steve Jobs was a huge douchebag, because one of my personal beliefs is I want to take care of my family above all else, and he didn't take care of his family very well at all. So he was a huge douchebag, in my opinion, but I think he was also a fantastic leader. Now, was he a fantastic leader? Like, was he a nice guy? I don't think he was a nice guy. I think anything you read about him, not a nice guy. Was he good at doing things personally himself? I don't think so. Like, if you read, Steve Wozniak basically did all the work in the early years, and I'm sure other people did all the work in the later years. But again, he was a fantastic leader. So one of the things that I do try to talk with my team about is that I do think, well, and I own the company, so I'm the man who's going to be leading us here. But my leadership style is a certain way, which has some very strong upside, but also has some downsides. So if people want to be on the team and be happy on the team, we have to learn how that they can be happy, or at least live with the downsides of my leadership style.
I will say most successful and effective leaders have that about them. I think a big difference is, I think what puts you ahead in a lot of ways is this awareness of what specific areas are the ones that your blind spots, and figuring out how to address that, right? I think that takes courage. I don't think everybody does that.
I agree. I think it takes courage. This has been for me, a real journey over the last. So again, I founded Fringe about 9 years ago. Yeah. I would say the first 4 years, for first 4 years, I was pretty arrogant. I just thought I was top of the world, and it was like my way or the highway. And then there were some very humbling moments after about 4 years in, and I realized a few things. And the number one thing that I realized, and again, EO has helped me to realize this, is that I'm the biggest problem in my business. Now, there's a flip side to that coin, that I'm the biggest opportunity of the business, and the business wouldn't be here without me, but I'm certainly the biggest problem in my business. And if I want to affect our customers and really make a dent in the universe, as I know Fringe can do, it's up to me to make myself better.
Yeah.
And then we'll be able to achieve what I want to achieve.
That's awesome. Now it's interesting because these lessons apply whether you were running a coffee company, an airline, or a fitness equipment business, right? So it's kind of independent of the specific thing that you do here.
I totally agree.
What are the things that are specific to your business that you've learned? Like, so you deal with a lot of heavy stuff, number one. So if you were selling, if you're an online business selling software, you sell something that weighs nothing. If you are an online business selling toothbrush or toothbrushes and toothpaste, your stuff weighs something. When you're shipping racks that weigh, what is it, 1,000 pounds or something like that?
I don't think any single item that we sell weighs 1,000 pounds, but I think the most heavy single box that we sell is probably like 180, 170, 180 pounds.
Okay, so it's still a couple hundred pounds worth of stuff. So that adds an entire level of complexity. So I'd love to get a little bit into the weeds about your business. Here there's a very large warehouse space attached here, and you have your office. What are some of the learnings that you've had with running a business that has such a high, for lack of a better word, physical component? You're selling barbells, you're selling plates, you're selling kettlebells, you're selling racks and things like that. What are some of the things that maybe you didn't expect going in that you've encountered?
Oh man, I've got many thoughts on everything as you're learning. So the way that I would jump into here is saying that if it were easy, everyone would do it. And then let me say just another pithy comment here. I had a gentleman that I saw speak recently about a year ago, and he had this saying, and he said, no business, no problems. No problems, no business. So if they're not problems, you're not going to have a business.
Yeah.
The other thing I think is everything that sucks about my business from an operational standpoint is an opportunity for us to be amazing at something that other people are going to see and think sucks, and then either decide not to do it or are going to do it really poorly. So when you talk about shipping, it's hard. It's very hard. Something else that you didn't mention is that we offer free shipping to the lower 48 United States on every single product we sell. So
you have a liberal returns policy.
We have an amazing return policy, best in the industry. Anything you buy from us, free shipping on the way out to you, free returns, including free shipping, no restock fee on the way back to us.
Yeah.
It's our way of saying we only sell what we lift on. We only sell amazing product that's really going to help you make a fantastic change in your life. So that's tough to do from an operational standpoint, but we believe that it's a really strong point of differentiation, and also not only a point of differentiation operationally, but it's a way of making a promise to our customers. We only sell what we lift on. If we don't think that this is a quality product, we're not going to sell it to you. We're not going to develop it. And the way we back that up is if we sell something that's a piece of crap, this return policy is going to hurt us terribly.
Yeah, because if I were to order one barbell and call it 4 45-pound plates, at 225 pounds worth of weight, how much does it cost to ship that?
Shipping cost, of course, obviously depends on where you are, but we're not getting into the door on that for less than $50, and it could be $150. Again, just shipping alone.
Yeah, but that's one way.
Yeah, just one way.
Yeah, and then if somebody returns it, so we're talking about like $200 to $300 for the shipping.
And it could be even more on the return trip because we're shipping from a business location. Maybe UPS needs to go and pick up from a residential location. Yeah. So it's wildly expensive. But
what's the MSRP on like one barbell, like an average barbell and average 4 plates?
So our best-selling barbell is about $200. Again, including free shipping. And so for a barbell and 2 pairs of 45-pound plates, you're probably looking at like $500.
Yeah. So you basically, after you account for margins and operational costs, losing money on every transaction when people return stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, when you said losing money every transaction. No, we make money.
When somebody returns stuff.
They do.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We do lose money on every
So,
transaction.
so you must keep an eye and manage. I mean, you want to offer this, but it's also a way to push you to really deliver on that promise to the customer, because obviously return spiking can have a pretty huge effect on your business.
Absolutely. So here's a couple of things. So as I mentioned to you before, our returns policy is our putting our money where our mouth is on our promise to our customer. Promise to the customer of we only sell what we lift on. We are the experts in this stuff. The way we back it up is with that policy.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing it does for us is it forces us to get really, really good at the logistics side. And then finally, the other thing that I would mention is no one buys one barbell, one kettlebell, one set of weight plates, and then is done. They're buying more. It may be from us or it may be from someone else. And when we have made a connection with them to sell one product to them, we have the opportunity to knock their socks off and to convince them to come back to us by being an amazing company. And our returns policy is part of that. We have many customers who have returned product to us, which could be a terrible experience, but we try to make it as smooth, comfortable, and inviting as possible so that on that next transaction, they come back to us.
And that's a part of your brand.
Absolutely.
So like when people associate that, it's like that helpfulness, because it is a pain. I mean, it's a pain in the ass to move those plates from the rack to the barbell, much less across the country, right?
Absolutely.
So and so you and I met at Atomic Athlete. So quite a few folks from Atomic have been on the podcast, and Todd Moore from Atomic itself. What percentage of your sales come from sales to facilities such as Atomic or CrossFit commercial operations versus, I know there's a big emphasis on your website and your marketing to really connect with and encourage people who are setting up their home gyms, right? Maybe in places where you don't have a facility that you can go, or like there are time constraints and other things. How do you think about those two markets, and which one? I mean, obviously you have to focus on both, but what's the breakdown for your business, and how do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me give you a quick spiel. So really what we think that we're doing here at Fringe Sport is we're changing the way society views strength. That is our big, hairy, audacious goal. That is what we exist for.
You read a lot of business books. I
do.
That's
our why.
That's a good to great kind of quote.
Well, and also, BHAG's good to great. And if you see, actually, I'm turning here slightly on my whiteboard. There's the golden circle from Simon Sinek, which is why right in the middle of a circle or a bullseye. Then there's how, and then there's what. Our why for Fringe is to change the way society views strength. Fundamentally, Americans and the whole world, as everywhere industrialized, people are getting fatter, basically lazier, and in worse health because food has never been in such abundance and ease has never been in such abundance. And so one of the things that we're really trying to do is we're trying to introduce strength and make the world safe for strength. Have you seen this Planet Fitness commercial where they have a really buff bodybuilder walking into a Planet Fitness and the trainer's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And the bodybuilder says, "I lift things up and put them down." Have you seen that commercial?
I don't know on television, so I'm a terrible person to ask about commercials. But I got a pretty good pictures of it based on what you just told me.
So they end up at the end of the 30-second spot. They end up kicking him out of the gym. Screw this guy. But what they're saying there is they're saying that if you lift weights, that you're stupid, that you're very single-minded, that you don't know what's going on. Hey, come and join Planet Fitness and it'll be a safe environment for you. Mm-hmm. And I just find that to be crazy and disingenuous. Because first of all, they're saying if you lift weights, if you're strong, you're stupid. That is ridiculous.
Like the meathead stereotype.
Yeah, meathead stereotype. Are there meatheads? Yes. And by the way, I love meatheads. They're totally cool. But if you look at the science, more strength correlates to greater levels of mental acuity, not lesser levels of mental acuity. Right. In other words, generally speaking, there is a correlation between being physically stronger and being smarter. Yet you see this stereotype of the meathead propagated, that if you're strong, you're not smart. So we reject that. Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing that we believe, and I talked with you briefly about the science very clearly shows that stronger people live happier, healthier, longer lives, literally longer lives. So there are a bunch of great studies done that show that a little bit of exercise, even a little bit of physical movement, adds on average 4 to 6 years to your lifespan. 4 to 6 years. That's a long time, man. And it tends to, this is not the same study, but that life tends to be healthier with fewer medical issues and happier. So I know this is a little bit of a digression from what you asked, but these are things that we fundamentally believe here at Fringe Sport, is we're changing how the world views strength, and stronger people live healthier, happier, longer lives.
Sure.
Now, back to the question. I'll actually answer your question, believe it or not.
No. I see where you're going with this.
The two other things that we believe as to how we can help society change the way they view strength and how we can help our customers be stronger, live happier, healthier, stronger lives is number one, by helping people build amazing garage gyms. There's a revolution going on where people, and by the way, I used to say they're parking in the street. That's actually not the case. What they're doing is they have cluttered garages in most cases. They're cleaning out the clutter. They're putting in some kettlebells or a squat rack or a pull-up bar or all of the above, a bar, some plates. They're changing their garage into what I call a world-class strength and conditioning facility. So they're building an amazing gym in their garage.
Yeah.
And that is our number one, like right in the bullseye customer, is we're helping people build these amazing garages.
So that's a larger proportion of your sales than commercial operations.
It is absolutely a larger proportion.
What's
of
the
our
breakdown
sales.
roughly?
60%, let's call
60.
it that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's I would not have expected that. That's really interesting.
It's really been, so actually, I love it. It wasn't necessarily our plan. However, when I started this company, I had a gym in my garage that I had built off of Craigslist and just like odds and sods here and there. I remember when I got my first bumper plates. My first pair of bumper plates was a pair of 25-pound bumper plates from Krayberg. And they were super bouncy, but I was super happy because I didn't know how to do power cleans. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. I for sure didn't know how to snatch. And it was amazing for me. And then when I started Fringe, I dismantled my garage gym. I sold it off on Craigslist, racked out my garage with racks, and started putting inventory in there until my neighbors got like super pissed at me because I was having trucks coming to the house. I just lived in a normal Austin neighborhood, and I would have these like semi trucks pull up to the house and be delivering me product and stuff like that. And I was like, I should probably get a warehouse, otherwise they're going to kick me out of this neighborhood. My wife was a little pissed too, but like I said, she supported me. But yes, that's our number one thing that we're doing, is helping people build amazing garage gyms. Now, a couple of things about the garage gym. I'm guessing that you're a convert, and I don't need to convince you. But one of the...
I actually have a shop in my garage. So I go to Atomic. Actually, I do have some questions about because to me, I've never been able to kick my own ass as hard in my own gym, which I have had plates in my garage before, versus going. That's why I go to Atomic, right? Because it's.
So let me speak to that.
I'm sure you have some thoughts on
I've got a lot. I got thoughts on everything.
Hey, we took a quick break here from our conversation with Peter to talk about our sponsor, Gusto. That's Gusto. And Gusto is a platform that helps you manage your benefits, your payroll, all the things in your business that are a pain and that you need to do, but you don't want to do because you want to focus on running your business. Ultimately, that is the reason you started this, not to spend time on those annoying blocking and tackling things that have to happen for your business to succeed. But why not leave it to somebody who does it all the time, and then you can focus on what you need to do. So again, it's Gusto, Gusto. Go to gusto.com/war stories, and you will get 3 free months when you run your first payroll. Let's get back to our conversation with Peter.
So our number 2, let's say, coming with that Simon Sinek construction, is to help entrepreneurs build thriving community gyms. So you just mentioned that you're never able to kick your ass the way that you are at Atomic. Because Atomic, you've got a coach yelling at you, Jake or Todd or Britton or Raul, somebody's yelling at you, hey, you got to do more reps, or you can't be weak or something like that. And then you also have the community. You have people that you know, and you're like, oh, well, hey, if that guy, or in Atomic's case, like if that girl can do like 5 more reps than I can do, then I got to be able to make this happen. So we really believe in that gym model. So here in the US, there are 2 main models for commercial gyms. Model number 1 is the Globo Gym model. So we're talking Gold, 24-Hour Fitness, even Planet Fitness. The model of the Globo Gym is to charge as much money as you can, but typically not very much money. So Planet Fitness is like $10,
Yeah.
and 24 hour might be $25 or something like that.
They count on you forgetting about it.
Exactly. They literally, there's a great podcast by Planet Money, an NPR affiliate or an NPR podcast called the Planet Money Workout, and they talk about Planet Fitness's business model. So basically, they try to get you signed up to a contract, and then they count on you forgetting about it. It's really a crazy model. Then we go to the what I call the community gym model, and it flips it on its head. So rather than charging a little bit of money and hoping you forget about it, they charge relatively a lot of money, but try to drive amazing value and life change for that money. So one of the things that we see from a lot of our clients who have these what I call community gyms, could be gyms like Atomic, could be CrossFit boxes, could be powerlifting gym, could be a weightlifting gym, could be a boot camp, the list goes on and on, is typically what they try to do is they try to provide amazing community, and then the community is really what keeps people coming back over and over and over again. And then they try to get people to attend. I don't know if you know this, but if somebody doesn't attend, well, I'm sure you know this. If somebody doesn't attend Planet Fitness, their card keeps getting hit every month.
Oh, yeah.
And
recurrent subscription.
Exactly. And the executives at Planet Fitness are like, yay! If somebody doesn't attend Atomic, they talk to the person. And they're like, hey, you're paying X $100 a month for this, and you're either not coming or you're coming once a week or something like that. We really just think it's not a good value for you. So why don't we just put your subscription on pause? You go out and do whatever else you need to do in the world. If you want to come back, we're here. But, don't pay this money because you're not getting the value. Like, from a business standpoint, just objectively, that's crazy. If you're hitting that card for hundreds of dollars a month, just keep hitting that card if the person's, not saying boo. But not only Atomic, but we see so many of the community gyms that have this model. They're not going to take your money and not provide value.
But that's kind of more of a commercial operation. How do people find that sort of, or are people putting garage gyms in their houses and then inviting their neighbors? How does that work? How does that work?
Great question. So let me break it into two. So yes, there are people who are putting garage gyms in their garage and then inviting their wives to work out with them, their neighbors, their relatives, things like that. That said, from our customers, it is typically a male, it's typically a guy, 35 to 45 years old. He puts his gym in his garage because he's tired or not able to make it to a gym for whatever reason. And so that's one of the main benefits of the garage gym is convenience. Convenience is probably the number one thing. Now, are you going to be able to kick your ass like you would be able to if you went to a community gym and had your peers out there doing their thing, you had a coach yelling at you? I would suggest probably not. However, if you think about going, so for me to go to Atomic, even though I'm literally 5 minutes down the road here in my office and my home is about 15, 20 minutes away from Atomic, it is probably at minimum a 2-hour commitment for a 60-minute session at Atomic. If I want to work out in my garage gym at home, it's probably a 45-minute commitment for a 60-minute session, so to speak. And the reason that I mention that is because, it starts as soon as I hit the gym. I don't have to wait for people to, start talking. I don't have to wait for a certain time. If I don't want to do mobility, I do think mobility is important, but if I don't want to do mobility on a certain day, I just skip mobility, and it's just super, super, super
I'm
convenient.
going to call Todd and tell him you said that.
He knows, man. I'm getting older. I'm getting, the aches and pains, stuff like that. So, but then the other thing to mention is that not everyone needs or wants that community. And that's something that we've seen time and time again from our customers. Now, we do strive to connect people who have garage gyms with each other, either in reality, in their own home gym. So, for example, last week was the summer solstice, and so we started the first ever garage gym day. So solstice is the longest day of the year.
Sure.
And so we started you call it a fake holiday. I call it a real holiday.
No.
Garage Gym Day, which we advertised with no money. It wasn't like a sale attached or anything like that. We were just saying, this is Garage Gym Day. What's the point of Garage Gym Day? Point of Garage Gym Day is to open up your garage gym and invite someone to work out with you
Yeah.
in that garage gym for Garage Gym Day.
Yeah, that's great authentic marketing too, because you're bringing in people something that they want to do and then putting your product at the center of it.
Yeah. So, yes, one of the things I will mention, I'm a huge believer in content marketing. And you called it great authentic marketing. Okay, when you're going to market a business, especially an e-commerce business, fundamentally, like mine, everybody's going to tell you, hey, go run Facebook ads. Go run AdWords, or I guess Google's calling it ads now. Go run Google ads. Go run Facebook ads. Maybe run YouTube ads. I'll run all these different ads. That's cool, right? Advertising. But what you're fundamentally doing, in my opinion, is you're giving money to Facebook and their shareholders, giving money to Google and their shareholders. However, if you do content marketing, you're actually giving money or value to your customers. So it's crazy to me sometimes. I talk with some of my friends who are entrepreneurs in the e-commerce space, and they're spending tens, hundreds, millions of dollars in Facebook and Google advertising
Per month.
So I do have a couple of friends who are spending in the millions. Yeah, it's crazy amounts of money. And they're saying to me, hey, Peter, you should be doing it too. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to spend, I have a marketing budget. I spend a lot of money on marketing. But what we do is we create content. At Fringe here, it's principally written content where we just try to help our customers out. Our number one customer demographic is a garage gymmer.
Yeah.
So what sort of content's going to help them out? And for example, we have a blog post that gets just amazing amounts of traffic, free traffic. And what it does is it teaches them how to make a percussion massager. So basically you can buy a jigsaw and a golf ball and some epoxy from Amazon for under $50. And you can basically put that golf ball on the jigsaw, and then, I'm showing you my hands. I know that doesn't make good pod. But basically when you pull the trigger on the jigsaw, then the golf ball oscillates back and forth. And
That's
so
wild.
if you've got a pec that's sore, or thigh that's sore, something like that, you just boom, 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 beat it up. And to buy one of these commercially is like $400, $500, something like that. But if you're willing to spend 30 minutes making this thing, you can make it for $50 on Amazon. Now, on that blog post, it's one of the top blog posts on our site. We don't make a penny off of that. In fact, we don't even sell percussion massagers at this point. We've talked with a few manufacturers. We'll see. Maybe it'll happen down the road. But that's not the point. The point isn't to sell percussion massagers.
Yeah.
The point is to help people.
Right.
And so that's what we try to do with our marketing. Is
So
we try to
you
help.
spend a lot of your time in marketing, then refining that message. Have you ever been to the Wizard Academy?
I haven't. I've heard of it.
You gotta come.
I
You
want
gotta-
to do portals. Somebody told me that I should do
No,
portals.
you got no. Portals is the second. You got to do Magical Worlds Communication. That's the first one. That's the kind of big meaty one.
Okay.
Yeah, with Roy
in.
Williams. Yeah, I'll give you a referral. Actually, a past podcast guest was who referred me there, and it changed my life.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we'll talk about
In.
that. I'll
100% in.
Yeah, I'll send you their way. It's just right down the road here. You, speaking a little bit more about marketing, you have some really interesting, funky, unexpected ways in which you market your product. So, for example, out here in the conference room that we walked through to get here, there is what looks like a Krispy Kreme donuts box, but really it has a plate in it, a barbell plate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and you do this with a lot of different offtakes off of brands. So I have some questions. Like, do you ever get in trouble for this? And is this something that I mean, you have like like Stranger Things logo. What does it say? Stronger
thighs.
Stronger thighs instead of. So what inspired all of this, and how have you handled it? What's been the public reaction, and have you gotten in trouble for it?
Yeah, a great question. So a couple of things. I had talked with you guys about our big why, to change the way society views strength. And one thing that goes along with that is I'm serious about strength. I love getting down, getting under a heavy weight. I always go say, go lift something heavy. But I also have fun with it. Like, I have a good time. Like when I go to Atomic, for example, I'm laughing and joking, that sort of thing. I have kind of a weird sense of humor. And we're in Austin. I went to high school in Houston. I know Houston really well. We have a good local business here in Austin. It would have made more sense, honestly, to move this business to Houston or Dallas, like major metro areas, to do the business. There are more people, potentially more employees, potentially more local sales, all that stuff. But we're here in Austin. And Austin's official slogan or unofficial slogan is keep Austin weird. So we want to have fun with it. And that's part of something else we say around the office is we're doing strength for smarties. So it's like strength for smart people. Mm-hmm. Smart people are sarcastic. Smart people are funny. Smart people are a little bit weird. And so we're not trying to make the same milquetoast just down the center of the road products. So we try to have fun with a lot of that stuff. Now, have we ever gotten in trouble? Knock on wood, up until now, we've never gotten in trouble.
Oops.
Right. We do have a legal staff that I consult in a lot of this stuff, and they consider that a lot of those things that we do fall well within the realm of parity law. Mm-hmm. So that is something to mention, is that they feel it's within parity law.
Got it.
And we're certainly not trying to confuse anyone to think that we're taking advantage of any brands. But we are, we do try, like I said, to have fun and to key off some things in society.
That's awesome. Can you think of a time when things went really wrong in your business, and what did you do about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Many, many times. I would say the worst and the most painful time for me was with my brother, actually. So when the business was started 9 years ago, I invited him in as a co-founder. And we grew the business for the first 4 years together, side by side, sweating, working, growing the business. After about 4 years, we got into a pretty bad situation where we just completely disagreed on the path for the business. And even now, that was 4.5 years ago. For me to just say it so blithely and just almost make light of it, there's so much pain and indecision at the time that, again, it's just crazy for me to be able to just summarize it like that.
Yeah.
So we ended up going our separate ways.
Can you share what the disagreement was?
It was just over the future of the business. Yeah. He wanted to go in a certain direction. I wanted to go in a different direction. And really, the crazy thing is the business disagreement was pretty line of sight. If I were to boil it down, he wanted to go down the route of advertising more. And so at this time, the business was growing very fast. And we were making basically no money because we're plowing everything back into advertising, giving it to Google and Facebook, basically.
Yep.
And I said, no, this is crazy. What we're doing is we're just accelerating into a wall, because even though we're plowing all profitability back into advertising, and we theoretically could, quote unquote, stop doing that at any moment and become profitable, I was like, I don't know if we can stop doing it at any moment and become profitable. That's just our theory, but we're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's starting to really, really scare me going down this route. And he thought that we should continue to go down that route.
Yeah. Now, it's like getting addicted to the crack of online advertising.
Yeah, there's a really great article, a blog post called Startup Drugs by Andy Dunn of Bonobos. Mm-hmm. And he talks about, I think it's called Startup Drugs. He talks about, that
I've read that. Actually, I've read the article. Is that a book or an article? He said it's an article.
He might have written a book about it,
but
it certainly started from an article.
Yeah. So Andy went and I went to the same school, and he did some lectures and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. But yeah, I love that article. Actually, he wrote another great one about e-commerce that is called E-commerce is a Bear. So I read the Startup Drugs one and E-commerce is a Bear basically every quarter. And E-commerce is a Bear is about how bad the e-commerce business is.
Yeah.
Like how...
Well, but the Startup Drugs article is worth, since we've touched upon it. So do you want to summarize that real quick? Because I think that exemplifies exactly what you're talking about, disagreement.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically the Startup Drugs article says that paid advertising is like a drug for your business. It makes you feel amazing at the moment because it drives in sales. I mean, it's absolutely drives in sales. Otherwise, why would you do it? And that makes you feel awesome, but it basically leads you to underdevelop every other part of your business, because all you want to do is shovel money into pay-per-click advertising. And then at some point, there could be a massive crash coming down the road for your business, because your business is massively underdeveloped to do anything other than invest in pay-per-click.
And the only known growth mechanism for you is to spend more money on ads.
Exactly. Yeah. So I want to mention, as I mentioned this disagreement with my brother, as I stand here before you, I'm not telling you that I'm right and that he was wrong. I don't know if I was right or if he was wrong, because the reality is I've seen a bunch of businesses, some major ones that I read about in whatever online, and some started by my friends that went down the path that he was advocating and then exited successfully and made their founders millionaires. So was that the path that we would have gone on if we had followed there?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I happen to think it's a low probability path, but I'm not saying that I was correct.
But the hardest part about this was not necessarily the business part. I mean, this is your brother, right? So it's like the personal.
It was the emotional part, absolutely, because we had a business disagreement, and possibly if we weren't related to each other, we could have just dealt with it through business discussions or something like that. If I have a disagreement with one of my employees here, I'm not taking it like a dagger to the heart, like the employee hates me and is trying to steal my future or livelihood or something like that. It's just a business disagreement. But when it comes to family, then you start to wrap decades of me knowing him, of him knowing me, of different things that happen in our lives, and then if you're not careful, it starts to curdle, and then you start to be like, well, F that guy. But I mean, that guy that you're saying, F that guy, that's your brother. Like, that's just really a terrible thing.
Yeah.
So that was the worst thing that ever happened to Fringe.
And he walked out of the business as a consequence.
Walked out, shoved out.
Sure. So how have you 4.5 years later worked to mend that relationship, and how's that?
Man, the relationship is still a little rough. I didn't even know whether to mention it here, but you had asked about one of the worst things that's ever happened in the business, and that's the worst thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
Hey, Alex, if you're listening to this, I love you. And, I had major problems in that situation, and I'm sorry. And I love you. So, I
believe you.
But as far as working to mend, like 4.5 years on, we're still working to mend the relationship.
Yeah.
And he's been very successful going off and doing his own thing, and I celebrate him for that. I'm really happy for that. I'm sorry that it couldn't work for us, but all that I can try to do is try to be who I am and be caring and open-hearted, and who knows what happens.
Sure.
It's a long life, 4.5 years. I'm almost 40 years old now. I hope that I'm going to live another 40 or so. So we're mending it as we speak slowly, and there's a long time to mend.
I believe in you.
I believe so too.
What is the number one piece of advice that you would have for other small businesses, people who are either in their small business right now, or maybe even thinking about launching their small business, and they're on the fence, or they're ready to make the jump? What's the number one piece of advice you want to give those people?
If anybody's thinking about launching their own small business, just jump, do it. You're not going to learn anything by. I love books, love books, love speakers, love going to school, love learning things. But there's the Teddy Roosevelt quote about it's the man in the arena that matters. Now, he was he was trying to fight against critics that will sit not in the arena and throw stones. But one of the other things from that is you can't really experience and learn if you're not in the arena. You have to be in the arena. Yeah. You have to be making a mess. You have to be getting your nose bloodied, and then you have to be resilient and continue to come back and back and back.
The quote that I heard the other day is that you cannot get better at push-ups by watching YouTube videos of push-ups.
I love that. Yeah. I'm going to steal it. But yeah, that's exactly the case. You got to go in there and you got to be making a mess. Now, you should do it intelligently, of course. Don't burn the ship, so to speak, on an unproven idea, but you gotta start and you gotta do it, because you can't learn how to do a push-up by watching a million YouTube videos on push-ups but not doing any push-ups.
Yep.
But the other thing that I would say as an advice to someone, as a big learning that I've had, I would think just like ruminate on the fact that you are the biggest problem and the biggest opportunity in your business.
That's a really powerful answer. You are the biggest problem in your business.
Absolutely. I believe it in my heart that I'm the biggest problem in my business. Fringe is 9 years old now, and we're doing really, really, really well, but we're not like, I like backcountry.com. That's a really great website. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how their revenue growth looked, but we're certainly not on their path, and that's because of me. Now, that said, the reason that we're not bankrupt and in the dustbin is also because of me, and I recognize and I celebrate myself and my team for that. But I'm the biggest problem in my business, and so are you.
That is very, very insightful. Where can people find you? So not only, by the way, we did not mention this, we should mention this. You have here in your facility, you call it the only free gym in Texas?
The only free gym in Texas. We invite everyone. You don't have to be a customer. You just have to want to work out.
Yeah.
Only free gym in Texas in South Austin.
And so you can show up here and you have a lot of equipment out there. So where can people find you? What are your web addresses, your social media handles, in what's your address here if people want to come work out?
Absolutely. So if you're in Austin or just passing through Austin, come visit us at the toy store. We're at 3725 Drosset, that's Drosett Drive in Austin, Texas. We're in South Austin, like I mentioned. You can find us also online at fringesport.com. That's FRINGESPORT.com. And we're on Instagram at Fringe Sport. We're on Facebook at /Fringe Sport or whatever that is. I would say also, if you want to contact me, I'm so freaking bad at email, but I'll give you my email address anyways. Peter@fringesport.com. That's me if you want to reach out to me. I'm so bad at email, but I'm trying.
Before we sign off, what's the name? Where did it come from?
Yeah.
Fringe Sport.
Well, remember I mentioned to you I was a CrossFitter. And by the way, even though I train at Atomic, I still consider myself a CrossFitter. Mm-hmm. I did love CrossFit. I still love CrossFit. Mark Ripito, who has famously become a little bit of a CrossFit, I don't want to say hater, but he's got some problems with
starting strength.
The starting strength gentleman, yeah. Mark Ripito. One of the things that he said is that CrossFit put more hands on more barbells than anything else in history. And I completely believe that. And I think that the barbell is the premier strength training implement that's ever been invented.
So is it here to stay, or are we going back to Nautilus machine?
If you want another 5-minute digression, I'll talk about that.
Actually, give me a couple minutes, because that's something I meant to ask you that I didn't get to, and it's my podcast, so we can do it.
Yeah, there you
go. I'd love to, because all these trends happen, right, with fitness, and again, you go from Nautilus machine, Nordic track machines, and all that, to barbells, which work, but they're you need to know how to use them, and they're they're more there's more room for error with barbells. So how do you see all these shifts in the market?
Amazing question. I have a lot of thoughts.
Okay.
So the rise of the Nautilus or selectorized training machines in the late 70s basically killed the first golden age of barbells and strength training and kicked off, maybe the jazzercise age or something like that of the 80s. Because you went from, so you had mentioned, and you'd said it really well, that a barbell has a lot that can go wrong. I think I'm butchering how you said it a little bit.
Room for error is what I said.
There you go. You said it really well. A barbell has a lot of room for error and actually requires a lot of training on the behalf of the trainee to know how to use it correctly, let alone the programming to have an actual strength and conditioning program. What the Nautilus or selectorized machines did is they made it so you could have a gym, which eventually became the Globo Gym, and you could staff it with high school employees, essentially. They didn't need to have a kinesiology or a strength and conditioning background because the machine constrains the movement patterns so that you're probably not going to get your clients injured, and you don't really need any, I don't want to say any, but not many highly trained or expensive employees to run a facility like that. So that basically killed off the barbell, the first golden age of barbell development, which I think we're now in the Renaissance or the second golden age of barbell development. So I believe, I'm sure, 100%, the barbell is absolutely here to stay. I think that the CrossFit training methodology and the CrossFit movement has really changed fundamentally how people think of barbell-based strength and conditioning, and I believe it's here to stay. Now, as far as kind of the second question you rolled into there, you're talking about Nautilus or selectorized, that sort of thing. Those are also here to stay. They have clear benefits, especially from a business side, over a barbell. And I'll tell you a dirty secret. So I've been in the fitness industry for 9 years, and I have a few fitness industry dirty secrets that I know, which I'm always happy to share all of them. One of the fitness industry dirty secrets is everything works. Every program works. especially for a newbie. So there's, the newbie effect essentially when you go from just being on the couch, not doing any strength and conditioning activities, and then doing basically any program whatsoever, even a really terrible program. It works because you're coming from a detrained position or situation. So every program works, but the kicker to that is you have to do it, and you have to do it on a regular basis. So when you talk about all these new different things coming out, the key to these new different things is actually the novelty of these new different things and various different things that try to get people to just continue to return to whatever the program is. Because again, whatever the program is, it's going to work if you can just convince people to continue showing up. So the number one, I guess, strength and conditioning equipment show is called IHRSA. It's IHRSA. And if you go to IHRSA, it's often held in San Diego, but sometimes jumps around.
Is it a trade show?
It's a trade show. So when you go to IHRSA and you walk around the trade floor at IHRSA, all you see are gimmicks. All you see is a ton of spandex-clad people jumping around in the booths trying to convince basically a gym owner, like a Globo Gym type of owner or franchisee, that their new program is the new coming thing in fitness. I had even alluded to this earlier in our talk. Your and my bodies are 10,000 years old or whatever. There's not been any improvement in our bodies in the past 10,000
probably
years.
2 million.
Yeah, 2 million years or whatever. So to think that, next year at IHRSA, somebody's going to come up with a, new version of Jazzercise or something like that that's going to be fundamentally different and fundamentally make us hugely better, it's just not going to happen. However, our psychological side of the brain needs to be stimulated and needs to continue doing whatever the training program is, and that's what all of the new programs are about novelty.
Right,
about
because the brain craves novelty.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
The other thing, and this is something I'll mention, I love talking to people about this. So I've been a CrossFitter since 2005. And in 2005, when you went to a party and you said, hey, I do CrossFit, somebody's like, oh yeah, I cross-train too. I cross-train too, because they don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
But then you advance to let's say 2009, you go to a party and you say, hey, I do CrossFit, and you get one or two responses. Response number one is, I do CrossFit too, brother, let's talk about all this stuff. Or response number two is, crap.
It's a cult.
Yeah, it's a cult.
You won't shut up about it. Are you vegan too?
Yeah, exactly, that sort of thing. But here's what I tell people.
Yep.
When people say CrossFit's a cult, I say, absolutely, it's a cult. That is a feature, not a bug. Because you're saying it's a cult, and in your mind, you're thinking, that's bad. I think it's a cult, and in my mind, I think, that's good.
Yep.
Because what a cult does is a cult enforces through social pressure adherence to a system. Now, there are some really bad cults that, social pressure is to, allow men to have polygamous marriage or
drink poison Kool-Aid.
Drink poison Kool-Aid, yeah, the Jonestown cult. But then there are good cults like CrossFit where fundamentally the social pressure is to continue going to the gym to learn more about physical culture, about how to move your body, how to move a barbell, how to make improvements, how to learn about nutrition. A lot of CrossFit gyms also talk about sleep, which is a really huge thing for people's health. Sleep, nutrition, physical fitness, well-being, also just healthy lifestyles. I mean, a lot of CrossFit gyms have at least some contingent in there that talk about how it's bad to do, alcohol and drugs. Of course, some they go out drinking together, and, that's just human nature. But
so your position is that 2050 CrossFit and barbell training will still be as strong or stronger than it is today?
Barbell training, yes. Man, I can't make a prediction about what we call CrossFit.
Well, thank you for entertaining the extra question. Peter Keller, it's been a pleasure and honor to sit down with you. I've learned a lot, and really appreciate it, and best of luck to you.
It's been a pleasure. Cheers.
Take care. Small business war stories. Small businesses are the soul of America. And this is where they tell their stories. I am your host, Pablo Fuentes.